Hello, y'all. Christian White, the One Day at a Time Dad, continuing on with my series, Listening to Learn, where I interview community members of any community just to get an understanding of them, the things that they enjoy, and how they come to make those decisions. And the goal is to hope to see if it connects to somebody else's story, and that brings us closer together as people. So I'm Christian White. This is Riq Havoc. A pleasure. Normally, when I do these interviews, I usually start off with a short first question, which is, what are your earliest childhood memories? I'm not going to do that because I've interviewed him before. So, and what I haven't interviewed him on is his love for music. So my first question is,
Okay.
Why music? What is music?
Music to me is expressive. I feel like there's always a song that goes for a mood or a feeling or whatever type of vibe you're on for the day. You could wake up and just be feeling like, you just want to listen to a certain type of artist or in a certain type of feeling. Or when you're getting dressed and you're feeling motivated, you want to put your fly shit on, you want to listen to something. You're getting in the shower, you're getting ready to go out, motivated for work, to the gym. Music always plays a pivotal part. So it's the language that words can't speak.
So when did you go from listening to music and enjoying it to actually making it?
I've always technically made it, being 6 or 7 years old. I used to make mixtapes in the house for my mother on the stereo system. But as far as taking rap serious, probably 22, 23, I just started dibbling and dabbling with it, freestyling and playing around and going to the studio with friends and jumping on tracks, but nothing really serious. Probably the last 3 to 4 years though, I've been taking it serious, actually trying to perfect it, work on my EPK, work on my
What's the EPK?
electronic press kit.
Okay.
So when I submit songs, it have my whole list of what I've done and features and all that stuff. So it put me in a better space.
Describe yourself as an artist. How would you describe your music?
My music is versatile. It just can't be put in a box. Everybody likes saying that, but I have different formats that I put into making tracks. As far as I have music that's for conscious, I have music that's for thought, music for getting fly, music for turning up, music for going to do some shit, that might need to be handled. So you just get a different array depending on what mood you're in, the feeling. And I try to bring the same shit that I feel when I'm listening to music and bring it to music myself.
So are you aware of the current atmosphere in terms of all the racial tensions and George Floyd being murdered? And so let me ask, in considering that atmosphere, does it change your liking music? Does it change the music you listen to?
No, not at all. At the end of the day, music's gonna be music. At times you wanna listen to a little bit more political stuff or be a little bit more focused on what, but at the end of the day, I'm still gonna listen to what I wanna listen to, depending on the mood. Nothing's really gonna shake that too much. Or as far as content or what somebody's putting out, I feel like there's a place for everybody. So you got a lane for conscious, you got a lane for turn up, you got a lane for trap.
So when it comes to any of those lanes, what do you do to prepare for a song? Is there any research that goes into, I don't know, a neighborhood or whatever, how deeply do you go with understanding your own lyrics?
Most of my stuff is personal accounts or accounts that, secondhand, I can get a story from somebody where I know it'd be factual information, but good research, so I'm making sure what I'm saying is true, so that way can't nobody try to, fact check it or, pull the card on anything like that. So if I'm speaking on something, I know it's researched, it's thought of, it's well plotted to get the point across.
Do you feel like that's important to do?
Of course.
Why is that?
You can't be just saying anything out here, because again, you saying anything could mislead somebody or sway somebody into thinking something is completely false or another way, and it's not really what it is. It could build a false sense of reality in someone's mind, a listener's mind, to thinking that it was really one way, but in all actuality it was another.
So words are important.
critical. Words are critical.
Critical. Okay, so matter of fact, just thinking in terms of that. Let's jump into a different topic. What would you suggest as sort of top 2 solutions to combating the street violence that we see?
Top 2 solutions I see. One would be opportunity for everyone across the board.
Opportunity in what sense?
When I say opportunity, I mean allowing those who were previously incarcerated a chance to fully functionally become members of society. There's no programming for them in jail. There's no steps to try to get them back on track. And if there is a program or something, whatever, it's not, fulfilling to the needs that they need to have out here in the streets where, they have bills to pay, they have kids to feed, they have, situations to get done. And, this program might be getting them on the right track, but it's only paying this, and the rent says that, and childcare says this, and the food bill is that. So it puts people in tough situations to make you question, do I need to, take that, or do I need to just go to what I know to get the bills paid? Actually, well-paying jobs and putting themselves in position to actually, fuel themselves and feed themselves to take themselves away from that bad opportunity. Because that's all anybody in the street wants, is an opportunity to provide for themselves and their families and secure that.
So let's say I'm one of them young dudes in the street and my whole lifetime has been with that particular mentality. How do you feel like we can go about, and this could be older or younger people, because we know the mentality itself is a mentality and it can be inside anybody. What do you think are some ways that we could begin to, I guess, get through, or to show a connection in their behaviors and the choices they make?
Well, that comes down to mental health. I mean, better evaluations from when they're in school, paying closer attention, because kids fall through the cracks at an early age. I believe the age 13 to 18, that's where most kids fall through. So you got to have people who they view as iconic or bigger than life figures from their neighborhoods actually speaking life into them and point them in the direction.
What do you mean by in their neighborhoods? What do you mean?
The people whose names ring bells, and if this person says something, it goes off, or somebody who might have just come home from doing something crazy from back in the day for the neighborhood, and they get all the respect in the world. But when this person is speaking, this younger person takes heed or listens because this person is looked at as a major figure, as a major factor from the neighborhood. So getting those people, putting those people in position, empowering them to help guide the youth. Because again, they look up to these figures, but these figures don't have nothing to show them positively, what to do. It doesn't make any sense for you to try to say that he's supposed to listen to him, but you don't give this guy nothing constructive to help himself show the other ones, this is what you can do. You can make a mistake and still bounce back, and here's the steps to do it like this. So along with that, just the opportunity to do that, and then also, like I said, the mental health aspect, truly evaluating while the people from these neighborhoods are locked up, getting the actual true help that they need inside mentally to try to prepare themselves to come back into society. Because nobody's going to tell you for 23 hours a day that your life is going to be one way, then the gates open up, you're thrust back into reality of the fast-paced world. So not everybody's going to be able to cope with that. Not everybody's going to be able to weigh, should I go left or should I go right, making the right decisions. And when you make people choose in situations like that, 9 times out of 10, they're just going to choose what feels comfortable.
So when you see the average youth on the corner or whatever, the older you, when you see that, what is your first kind of impressions and thoughts?
First impression is just everybody's got a different story, so you can't even question about what's going on, because everybody's story as to why they ended up out there, everybody's story might be different. This kid might not have had nobody who was there. This kid might have felt like he's thrown everything away and he don't got nothing left. So this is some of these kids just feel like they're just hanging out and just growing up like most with their neighborhood friends. These is since 5 and 6 years old. We all walk to the store, we play at the playground, ride bikes, go to parties together. These are my friends. So if they're hanging out, I'm hanging out. That's what that goes. So can't really judge nobody, but you just hope that, you know, what's going on out there, they're trying to like figure out and navigate, but that's part of the game, and the rules just bumping your head to figure out what's going on out there, because not everybody who's out there is looking or wanting to be out there for a bad reason. Some, like I said, circumstances might have people out there on the corner. So I've learned older me to become less judgmental about why someone might be out there, or just prejudging why someone might be out there.
Everyone has a story. Everyone has a story. Because, I mean, it's interesting because, you know, we live in Boston, and, you know, Boston's nowhere near what some major cities are. But how do you see mental health when it comes to the youth we see? So, I mean, a lot of people know my personal view, which is Boston. I don't even believe Boston has gangs. I just look at it as like, you know, some misguided youth. I mean, in terms of gangs and what I understand a gang to be, in terms of leadership structure, things of that nature, we simply don't have that. We just simply don't have it. You know, even in Massachusetts laws, when you read the RICO and things like that, no block in Boston has that. It just doesn't have that sort of structure, or, you know, everything's freelance. There could be 10 dudes that hang out, 2 dudes just went and did something, come back, won't even tell the other 8. Those 2 dudes go off, do something again, someone else is doing something again. There's no communication. There's none of there's none of that type of stuff.
No.
For me personally, it's a mental health thing. You know, it's in a lot of ways feeling invisible when you find a world where you feel visible in so many ways.
Well, it's kind of like some music I've, you know, worked on before, just talking like with Dennis about it, like the dark side of the whole moon thing, where it's like existing in a world that doesn't exist to anybody else, and it's like, you know, they're caught in a world where you're not really seen, but you are seen. You're not seen as far as like actually getting the help that you truly need, but you are seen as far as the reaction to you not getting the help. So again, that kid who could have been helped, who's been struggling to deal with, you know, nobody at home to help pay the bills, or, you know, feed the younger siblings, or put them on the bus, or help with homework, so he's out there doing what he got to do. And so, you know, he might got to carry a gun to handle his business or whatever, to protect himself at 15 to 16 years old, being put in bad situations. Now he gets arrested for bringing a gun to school or being out there. Now all they see on the news is a gun-toting teenager, and nobody gets back to his backstory about what put him in that position to be there. That's, you know, like you said, a bunch of lost people, because again, everybody is tribal. Everybody wants to belong to a group. Everybody's a part of a pack. So, you know, you find people you have common interests in, common things in line with, and everybody, they just rock together. So if a bunch of people are struggling from losing friends at an early age, we're all from the same neighborhood or whatever, we all have that bond. We're bonded by trauma. So that by itself leads to bad mental health and stress, and passing that down to generations, because again, that's all they know is that stress of death and violence and confusion, not really understanding why, but this is just what goes on with it. So like you said, them just being lost out there.
So where do you feel like, I don't know if it would be whether street workers, police, the city, other nonprofit organizations, anybody that could potentially touch that particular group of youth, what do you feel like could be better? Whether it's approach, whether it's actual content.
It's got to be the approach. I mean, it's clearly not working, the other approach. I don't care what nobody says who might be on the other side, but from seeing it from where the reality of it is they don't trust the police. They don't, you know, view them, or the street workers. The street workers are viewed as diet police. So, you know, it's got to be people who are actually respected figures from these neighborhoods, who can go into these neighborhoods and work with the kids and create, you know, some type of actual change and an actual route. Because you can't ask these kids to give up the street life without giving them no solution. I mean, that shit is just virtually impossible. And it doesn't matter who you get to come talk to them or whatever. If you're not providing no opportunity and showing them a way to get out of it, they're not going to leave none of that. It doesn't matter how many street workers, how many police officers you put on the street. If these kids don't have an opportunity, if they don't feel like their self-worth is where it needs to be, ain't nothing going to happen. The violence will continue.
What can be done about bettering police community relations?
Actually getting people who care about the community to police these communities. Actually having the police, if they choose to, want to take part in being in this community, talk to the people, walk them down the street, participate in things, not sitting in the car like they're, a slave catcher or a slave master on a horse. That's realistically what the optics look like, and then they wonder why they can't get anybody help from the community, because the older people and the people who are trying to live, a normal civilian life, they don't trust you, they don't see you, they don't recognize your face, because if something was to happen, they'd point automatically and be able to go get the police officer, and less crime is able to happen if police is walking up and down the street. But there's a disconnect with the people who aren't from this community, who come to police this community, versus the people who are members of the community.
Is there a way to bridge that disconnect?
I would say it would go into the hiring practices and actually, going to get people from these communities. But it's hard when, again, it's deep rooted in the trauma that's come from past generations of people who aren't here and targeting the parents and whatever. So when you have young children who know at 4 and 5 years old that the police is a bad thing, excuse me, there's not, there are kids who are less eager and willing to do that. And there are people who would truly make a difference, but all they know is, you can't be the police, you can't do that, because again, they're viewed as a negative. So if you have good people from these communities who are willing to step up and step out and rebrand and do their thing for the police, then you might be able to get some of the ones who can truly help the kids and convey a different message to them, that it doesn't have to be that.
No, I think that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. That actually makes a lot of sense.
Because we all know somebody at the end of the day who might be involved with law enforcement like that, and their first thing they're quick to say is, not all of us are like that. And it's like, yo, if not all of y'all are like that, y'all better speak up, because they're grouping the hell out of all y'all right now, and it's gonna be hard to tell who's who when everything's going on. It's hard to tell. Like, you're gonna sit here and tell me you allowed Jimmy Nobody from East wherever to come into your neighborhood and disrespect the people you live amongst, family, friends, cousins, or whoever, and then you just sit back because they're paying you for it? If that's what a paycheck is worth, you got to be willing to take the disrespect that comes with it when those people disrespect these people of the communities.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask, what is your perspective on, I guess, like gangster lyrics? Like, what do you feel? Like, I have my own personal opinion about what I think, why I love gangster music, why I listen to it, all that.
It's needed. It's needed because I feel like, Ice Cube always said it's a reality that's painted. It's the report. It's what the reporters refuse to report on. This is the real life of what's going on, and a lot of the youth of what's going on. And people don't like it because the truth is ugly. So, if you're living that and your lyrics reflect that, your reality might be horrid. It might sound crazy. It might sound whatever to somebody who doesn't understand it. But if you're in the life, if you've been a part of it, you know exactly what's going on, and you're listening to it because you feel for it. There's a certain spot inside you that understands, you can relate to it. So we all listen to things we relate to. We all wear brands we relate to. We all, eat things that we can recognize and stuff like that. So if I could recognize something in a struggle, in a reality that I've grown up in, hell yeah, I'm gonna listen to it. And that's not knocking nobody who doesn't, support it, whatever, or, the people who do it. Do your thing. Like I said, there's a lane for everybody, because there's a reality of every different facet of living in the hood.
So do you think there's a connection between gangster rap and the violence?
No. The violence is going on regardless. It's gonna happen regardless. Anything that goes on, this violence that goes on in the white community, nobody says or tries to link it to death metal or heavy metal rock or anything like that. So why does the music of intense reality in our neighborhoods have to reflect the violence and stuff that goes on? Nobody knows what Willie Lynch was listening to when he was propositioning and beating slaves. There was no soundtrack to that. So
yeah, dig it, huh? So let me ask, what is it, when it comes to the music, when it comes to, I guess, yourself in life, what is it what do you hope to accomplish with your music?
again, just painting the picture and speaking for a reality that is multifaceted. Again, just the shit that nobody wants to talk about, or people and circumstances, or being in places that most gloss over or get mislabeled because they don't understand it. That's really what it comes down to. Speaking for those who are mislabeled because society is just decided because you come from here, you live there, you know this, you do that, you're this type of person. That's not the case.
How far would you like to take your music professionally?
As far as it can go. As far as it can go.
What do you do to try to promote that for yourself?
Just constantly working with new people, opportunities performing, creating new content, building my digital real estate space online, so creating a lane for myself. So when I do put my content out, I'm not worried about nobody else or sounding like anybody else. I'm just focused on being Riq. That's it. That's all I'm focused on. And everything else will take care of itself. Just telling Riq's story, building Riq's platform, building Riq's trajectory on trying to be the greatest. That's it.
So you work now?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, was there ever a time where you were in the streets but still doing music?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when you think about the two, which world brings you further along?
It's sick, but the negative of being in the street brings me further in one aspect. But as far as like what I want in security long term, working right now is getting it done.
Break that down. And I'll leave that. We'll end off with this last thought. But I'm interested in hearing that kind of thing.
As far as like progressively, like as far as like making hotter or getting the music out faster, and being able to be flexible and do what I need to, being in the street, because the money's disposable. It comes quick like that. But then with that, I gotta look over my shoulder. I gotta worry about who's watching me, where I'm at, what I'm doing, if the police is going on, whatever. So that puts an added stress or whatever. But to take away from that, if I'm working or whatever, I don't really got to worry about nobody clocking about how I'm making my money or whatever. I can focus on that. But the aspect is I got to kind of work and adjust and move around the schedule versus being able to freely do what I want to, go into the studio in late hours of the night or staying as long as I want to. So structurally, is a little bit more difficult and rigid, but it's necessary as far as creating what I need to, because it's actually helped me and forced me to get my shit done in a faster amount of time. So when I am in there, I can get what I need to get done as far as music and production and my overall sound, as opposed to just lollygagging around and letting my shit be loose ends like it was. That was also part of the thing with being in the street with doing the music. It's just like a lifestyle. You're not really taking it too serious. You're taking it serious, but it's like you're kind of lit and famous without actually having it. So you're lollygagging about doing certain shit. You're not keeping it tight. You're not whatever. But when you have something structurally set in place, you got to work around. It kind of forces you to either step up or step off. So
what are the chances of somebody who's in the street full time, doing music full time, actually becoming successful at music?
It's real successful. It's real easy. Because again, that time
and I'm saying this in the sense of they have no intention on leaving the streets.
Oh,
like they're trying to walk the line for whatever.
You can do it. You'll get an opportunity faster, because again, your flexibility as far as being able to be in the studio longer, not having to worry about deadlines or certain structural breakdowns. You don't got to worry about that when it's just all gas in the streets, when you can just straight go. But the knock with that is when it is time for you to start walking that line and going more commercial and being more professional with it, that draw is starting to start pulling you back, because you're used to being able to do what you want and live how you want and act how you want and conduct yourself. Did
you experience that personally?
It was times where I would just be like, man, fuck this job. I'm ready to just go back to doing what I was doing so I could just focus on my music, live as free as possible, and go from there. But you think about it, and it's like, again, that pressure of going to jail, possibly getting killed, some bullshit going on, and it's like,
And so when did you start thinking that way?
Watching other friends get killed. watching other artists, watching other friends get killed, and it was just like, all right, maybe I could still do both. You know, I don't gotta just be in the street to rap. I could work and rap and still do my shit. I just gotta go a little bit harder now to secure my shit and make sure, because there ain't no extra wiggle room to play around with. I gotta get my shit done on these days. I gotta be on point, because if I'm not on point, I'm gonna fall back and just be like, fuck it, I'm just go back to what I know. That comfort of just doing what you know, and that comfort is where chaos happens.
Yeah. Well, listen, I appreciate this. I mean, I think what always amazes me is just like, I mean, my whole thing is like, you know, finding cures for whatever issues people believe in. And I think what I try to do with these interviews, so originally they had started off, I was literally introducing dudes from neighborhoods and stuff like that. But I just think it's super important to have voices from every single part of the community be heard in some way.
Different facets.
Yes.
That's what it's about.
Yes.
Again, who knows, you know, just because we all live in one way doesn't mean we all think a certain way, or it could mean we all have, you know, different people from walks of life have similar connections. It could be someone who might be from a suburban area or a well-to-do or whatever, but they still have a struggle or a connection with somebody who might be from the inner city. So you just never know who you're meeting or running across. That's why you gotta listen to learn instead of listen to reply.
Yeah, sounds good to me.